Circuit Rider, part number 7. Sal appeared to be willing to talk about Pleasant Valley and the origins of the folks that lived there. She told Bobby she had never shared much about the place with outsiders. She said they were outsiders, but the people who lived in this tight-knit community just wanted to be left alone. The skills in building provided the community with subsistence. Their code of conduct was strict, and the elders of the community would not accept any deviation from those standards. Those who were over 60 years of age were the original settlers from Scotland. They wanted to come to the New World and start a new life. One of the most famous of the settlers was Sal's father, and everyone called him Carl of Scots. His name was Scott McEverly. All the children were homeschooled, and most of them could outscore the children on the other side of the mountain. Many of them were good at mathematics. My father was an artist, and most of the homes in Pleasant Valley had his paintings hanging on the wall. I am sure most of those paintings would bring large amounts of money if they decided to place them on the market. Sal hesitated when she mentioned the paintings were worth large amounts of money, especially from the people in New York and Chicago. Bobby got the impression Sal had said too much about the paintings, and she remained silent for a long time before resuming her information about Pleasant Valley. My mother, when she was 19 years old, wanted to learn to paint, so she asked my father to teach her. I don't know how old he was, but I think he was very old. One evening, my mother received word that my father had been bitten by a rattlesnake and did not survive the bite. She told her mother and dad that regardless of his age, he wanted to marry my mother. 6 months after Scott's accident with the rattlesnake, I was born. When I was 2 years old, my mother passed away from typhoid fever. All in the community were careful about drinking water, so they suspected she caught it from a carrier of the disease while helping build one of the log cabins on the other side of the mountain. Although my mother and dad were not married before his death, I took his last name. My name is Sally Ann McEverly. Bobby was completely immersed in what Sal was telling him. He was attracted to her honesty and had the feeling she would not embellish the truth, and if it was something she did not want to share with Bobby, she would not bring it up in the conversation. One thing Bobby found appealing about anyone was honesty, and he was feeling Sal's honesty, and he knew without a doubt that he would eventually lead this beautiful girl to Jesus. After that, he was wondering how he could steal her heart too, because she was stealing his. Sal got a stern look on her face, and she told Bobby their community harmony was under attack by one of their own. A man by the name of John Sweeney was bullying some of the people, and they were afraid of him. People who never locked the door to their cabin were now locking them, and some were taking turns guarding their family from this crazy man. Then Sal told Bobby he appeared to be possessed by some strange thing. When Sal mentioned John Sweeney and some strange thing possessing him, Bobby knew how God would give him access to Pleasant Valley. If John Sweeney was possessed by some kind of a demon, Bobby would confront him. Although Bobby knew he would need all the help from God during the confrontation. At the exact moment Sal mentioned John Sweeney, Bobby Jack began to call on the Lord to help him to be prepared. Bobby was not glad to see the crossroads that went left to Pleasant Valley and right to Clarksburg. Sal and Bobby sat in the buggy for a long time exchanging stories about themselves. It was one of those situations you did not want to end. Finally, Sal told Bobby she needed to get to Pleasant Valley before sundown. Bobby asked Sal to not hesitate to use her pistol if she ran into the Sweeney character. Sal smiled and rubbed the handle of the pistol before she extended her hand to Bobby. Bobby held Sal's hand, not wanting to let go, and he could tell Sal did not want him to let go. Finally, they said their goodbyes, and Bobby mounted his horse and rode toward Clarksburg. When Bobby Jack looked back, Sal had not started up the road to Pleasant Valley. She was waving goodbye. Bobby Jack found a boarding house in Clarksburg. He told the owners he did not know how long he would be in the area, so he would pay a week's rent on a room and would possibly extend it to several weeks before he departed Clarksburg. That first night at the boarding house, he could think of nothing but Sal, the Sweeney guy, and the community of Pleasant Valley. On his way into town, he saw the construction of a large log cabin, and he asked the boarding house owner if the people constructing the cabin were from Pleasant Valley. Bobby was expecting the reply he received, "Yes, they are, but they are a weird bunch of people. Trustworthy folks, but you cannot get to know them." Bobby wanted to know if they would let you come near the construction site. Bobby was told they would not acknowledge you and did not care if any of the Clarksburg people came and watched the construction. Bobby decided to go to the site to observe, but he mostly wanted to see if they would reveal anything about themselves in casual conversation with each other. Bobby Jack found a comfortable rock to sit on near the pathway that went to the building site. He was close enough to hear any normal conversation. When Bobby Jack dismounted his horse and sat down on the rock, he did not notice any of the workers noticing him. Most of the talk between them was construction talk, and nothing was said other than that. Then his heart rate went up when he saw Sal and her buggy coming down the road. She turned into the path to the log cabin, passing within 3 feet from where Bobby was sitting on the rock. She did not acknowledge Bobby, and she passed by, never looking in his direction. She pulled up beside the construction site, and the workers came up to her buggy as she gave them food and water. The only thing they said to Sal was, "Hello, Sal." Then one of the men, who Bobby had determined was the leader of the group, asked Sal if she had any trouble with John. When she answered, Bobby could tell Sal was speaking loud enough for Bobby to hear her. John stopped me at the big rock and wanted to know where I was going. I told him I was on my way to bring food and water to the construction crew at Clarksburg. I was prepared to use any lethal force at my disposal if he had attacked me. After standing near my horse, smirking at me, he walked into the woods. Sal delivered the rations to the work crew. Then she departed the building site, not once acknowledging Bobby.